Welcome to SCN Corporate Connect. I'm Greg Greenberg, reporting live from United Nations Plaza, and my guest today is Jane Thomason. She is the CEO of Abt Associates Australia. Welcome, Jane.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're here at the UN. We're kicking off the Decade of Women initiative, and today is International Women's Day. So what does that mean to you and your work?
I'm tremendously excited to be here today. My work has been around poverty and inequality, and the Decade of Women symbolises for me the ability for us to bring together the technological advances that we see today with the age-old problems that we have of poverty and inequality, particularly amongst women and girls. So I think that this is a decade where we really can transform their lives in a way we've never been able to before.
Well, one way people say that we can help solve that problem of inequality and promote gender equity is through the blockchain. And you were one of the early promoters, prominent speakers about the blockchain. How did you originally get interested?
Well, I have to say it was from my son. And from a series of mistakes. My son used to play World of Warcraft, and I insisted that this was a bad thing. But these days, if you're a gamer, you earn more than $1 million. Harvard Business Review's writing about people who play World of Warcraft as one of the best management training that you can do. And a lot of the companies that have raised billions of dollars all played World of Warcraft. My second mistake was when he told me to buy Bitcoin in 2010, and I never bought any. So the third time he came back to me and said, "Mum, there's this new thing called blockchain, you really have to look at it," I took him seriously. So I started to read about it and think about it. And then one day I just had this moment because we'd worked in Banda Aceh after the Boxing Day tsunami, and it wasn't just the loss of life. All of the records were gone, all of the land titles were gone, all of the bank records were gone, all identity records were gone. No one knew who was there and who wasn't there. And then the donors came in with money, but no one knew where the money was going. And I just had a moment when it all came together for me, and I thought, if we can actually get this working in developing countries, in humanitarian settings, and for the bottom billion, this is going to change things remarkably.
Well, how do we get emerging markets involved in the blockchain? How can we ameliorate their situations by using the blockchain? What's the first step?
Look, I think there's two important steps. The first one's education, because a lot of the times when I talk to people, whether it's governments or whether it's international agencies about blockchain, they immediately get afraid and they think Bitcoin, dark web, something nefarious. And so there's a lot of work that we need to do to actually help them understand that this technology is far more than that, and if we're able to take it to scale, it can change lives. So education's the first thing. The second thing I think is really important is to get out there and get some proof of concepts going. Show that this actually can be done and what it can do. So an example for me was we came with a proof of concept we've been working on to UN Women about a month ago when they were having technology demonstrations. And we stood there in New York and we sent a remittance transfer to a woman in a very remote village in Papua New Guinea in 3 seconds. And that was incredibly powerful. So I think what we need to do is we need to get more examples of blockchain and how it actually can change people's lives and show people, because then people will be interested in scaling it.
How are governments reacting? You're speaking to people at the UN, we're at United Nations Plaza. So how are governments individually reacting to some of these proposals?
Variously, because it's the same issue as I mentioned before. Initially they're cautious about Bitcoin, but my experience is when you show governments and you talk to them about what it can do, they get really interested. Naturally, they're concerned about compliance and regulation and cybersecurity and things like that. But these are issues that can be dealt with, and I think there's a tremendous amount of interest among many developing country governments because they can see what it can do for their people.
And what about raising money? Should you tokenize the process? Everyone's putting tokens out right now, raising money. Is that the best way to promote these reforms?
Look, I'm not completely sure that that's the best way, but having said that, there are a number of people who are setting up tokens to raise money to invest in startups, for example, that could be working in developing countries. So I wouldn't say a startup itself necessarily needs to do a token, although it may, But the second thing is often these startups are not working on things that are immediately going to scale and make people a lot of money. So they need seed money to get going and to get to the point that they've got a proof of concept where either it will scale commercially or governments or international bodies will want to use it. So I think there's a variety of ways that money can be raised, and it is pretty tough just right now raising money for blockchain projects in developing countries.
Okay, well, thanks a lot for speaking with us. Thanks a lot for all your work.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching SCN Corporate Connect.